Welcome to the Awakened Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Welcome back to the Awakened Heart Podcast. I am your host, Nancy Walters, and I am recording this, and I gotta tell you, I'm in Oregon and the beautiful Pacific Northwest, which can have a lot of inclement weather, needless to say. It was a very cold winter, and we're at the end of April here, and we have not seen the sun in a couple of weeks. And literally, I felt like I was getting Chinese water torture. So this weekend, the sun is going to be out, and it's actually going to be a decent and warm temperature. I am celebrating. I hope everyone, wherever you're listening, we are moving into the middle of spring, and hopefully you're getting some warmer weathers, or maybe you're lucky you live in Florida or California, where it's always gorgeously amazing and warm. So this episode today, we have heard a lot about 5D, Ascension. There's a lot of chaos and craziness that's happening in the world. And it seems like everything is, it literally is falling apart. But it's falling apart because old systems are collapsing and things seem to be speeding up as far as the craziness that seems to be going on in the world. And it just doesn't make sense, the half of it. But there's such a bigger picture happening here. And it's crazy and confusing in society right now with much purposeful deception and misdirection, as you heard in an earlier podcast, how there's certain controllers, as you will, that control others and control everything that's happening out on the world stage. And there's a lot of misdirection. There's a lot of deception happening. And you have to know how to see it, or you have to really tap into that intuition to really figure it out for yourself, to really see what is truth and what is not, because there's a lot of misdirection and misconception and a lot of deception happening out there. But not if you understand and focus on your mission here is to shift. We are here to ascend to a higher consciousness, and we are here to remember who we are at a soul level. What is your purpose? What did you incarnate specifically for at this moment? When you understand these crucial questions, it can offer a lot of peace of mind and really help eliminate a lot of wasted effort. Right now, we stand at the dawn of a miraculous new evolution for mankind. The Earth is ascending through a monumental shift of consciousness into the fifth dimension, the fifth density. But there's much confusion about what this 5D Ascension Shift means, what is really happening, and how will it affect you. Ginelle Sendsen, today's guest, is helping people do just that, helping them in the awakening process. She is an awakening guide, a spiritual therapist, and a planetary ascension enthusiast, here to help guide those navigating their awakening journey. She woke up spiritually in 2012 and immediately began to remember her purpose as a starseed on a mission to create a bridge for humanity from an old age of darkness to a new age of light. Ginelle's main focus is to provide guidance for awakening souls regarding such topics as releasing fear programs, activating true sovereignty, navigating solar energy and ascension symptoms, and moving through the collective dark night of the soul. Ginelle's intention is to create the most easy and graceful ascension for humanity by bringing awareness and consciousness to the global evolutionary event, because that's what we're in right now. It's really exciting times. So get ready to be enlightened and inspired with today's guest, Ginelle Sendsen. Hi, Ginelle. Welcome to the Awakened Heart podcast.
Hi. Hi, Nancy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for agreeing to be on our show. And my audience, everybody listening, you're in for a real treat. I got to listening to Ginelle. I saw her beautiful face on Instagram, and there's so many amazing light workers and starseeds and people that are helping others through this planetary awakening that is happening. It seems like on an expedited scale right now. And it's been happening for a long time. It's just because of what the events of the last 2 years, more and more people are aware of that and shaking off some illusion and that things aren't all as it seems. And the people that we used to trust and believe in aren't who they say they are. Definitely not. And there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. So Ginelle had her awakening in 2012. So like 10 years ago. So she's been on this, must have been really interested to be on this path of awakening and seeing everything unfold as it is now. What actually led to your awakening and what was that like?
Yeah. So, I always felt from a very young age that there wasn't something quite right about what I call the third dimensional matrix, the mainstream reality, right? That we're all born into. I didn't quite understand why there was so much injustice. I didn't understand, things just felt heavy and dense. There was warring, there was, blatant power over and, lying politicians and all that stuff. And I just remember watching the news once when I was 12 and I'm like, what is this? It truly seemed like a movie. And I didn't have, the knowledge of the language that I do now about starseeds and all that stuff that we're probably going to get into. But I just felt that something was wrong and that we shouldn't be living this way. And why is it that some people, have food and shelter, and then across the world, people are living in poverty? Just the imbalance, it just nothing made sense. So that was really early on. And then in high school, I kind of just pretended to fit in. I did a really good job of that, tried to put away all of the extrasensory abilities that I had as a kid. And I just tried to fit in. And then I found myself getting more and more kind of depressed and aimless and purposeless. And then just to speed things along here, because the story is, there's more to it. But in my early 20s, I was going to university and like I had a boyfriend, and I felt empty and I felt like I wasn't living my purpose, and I felt like nothing made sense. And I just started to get more and more depressed. To put it quite frankly, I had suicidal inclination. And I know that many people before their awakening feel this deep sense of meaninglessness. And so I realized now that was my first dark night of the soul, where I just plummeted into the depths of, the lowest of the third dimensional reality, because a soul isn't meant to be living that way. It's like I wasn't living in my soul essence. And because of that deep, plummet into the darkest aspects of myself, my lowest consciousness that I could, I just had an awakening. Like it was kind of like a spontaneous thing where I was like, it was a choice point. I either leave the planet, right? And I have a beautiful family, so that was never really an option. But the thought was there. It's either, okay, I'm going to leave, end it, or I'm going to turn this around and like find God. And so, synchronicities occurred. I had a manager at a retail store that I worked at, and she presented me with a CD of The Secret. I don't know if you're familiar with The Secret. Mm-hmm. And I just listened to that. And I remember they said, well, if you emanate out gratitude, you're going to get this back. You're the creator of your reality, essentially. And it was just that teaching, you are the creator of your reality. And that I'm conjuring up all of this darkness by myself, no, I'm not a victim. That led me on the path to, meditation, practicing spirituality. Like I just dove into spirituality from there, all kinds of modalities, all kinds of teachers, shadow work, healing myself. Yeah. So that was all in 2012. And then from there, I'm trying to condense because there's a lot to this history of the awakening. But from there, through some of the teachers that I was listening to, I came across Dolores Cannon and some other teachers that would talk about the new work and the ascension of humanity, and it's coming and it's here. And, the two world split, and all this stuff that we're now really starting to see the evidence of. And it just felt right. And I just was like, okay, this is why I'm here. I'm here to help with the ascension. I'm here to help awaken others. And I'm here to fulfill a mission to help humanity from an old age into a new age, the golden age. Mm-hmm. So that was a summary.
And you mentioned The Secret. A lot of people, because that became so mainstream, that was a really good introduction for a lot of people to really see that our thoughts can become things and to really be the masters of your own reality, while also like, you know, you're giving up to the workings of the universe and the energy. It's like one and the same. And you made that decision. A lot of people, like you were talking about how maybe you'll leave this planet, because a lot of people do when they're gifted at an early age. Maybe they have second sight, or they're intuitive, or they're seeing things and hearing things, or seeing dead people, or having these channels of awakening. They try to suppress their gifts so much, because especially at a young age, because they don't feel normal, or, you know, the depression and anxiety of carrying the weight of the world is so heavy that they don't know how to handle it. So even having the strength and the courage to explore these things, like, you know, you dove into The Secret and then you started reading works. Did you have a mentor that helped you through it? Because it's really helpful to have a mentor, or have a program, or have somebody that helps you navigate this new whole paradigm that you're exploring.
Well, not really like a one-on-one mentor, but it's like, you know, there were multiple teachers just online that I would follow. And I still follow them to this day, majority of them. But mainly it was coming to a point of all of them would say, you are your own guru. Like, you have a higher self. I was like, these concepts were mind blowing to me from my third dimensional ego aspect. But in my heart, I was like, yeah, I do have a higher self. I knew it. And I was just like drinking. Like, I feel like I was like lost in the desert and I was so dehydrated from my connection to God, as you know, all third dimensional humans are down here. We're severed from God's source. So then when you come to this, you're like, it feels like you're like soaking all of this in your godly aspect, your higher self. So I didn't really have, you know, like a one-on-one mentor. I became my own mentor. I became like my own cheerleader. I started to reprogram the negative voice into like a higher self voice, like consciously, like retraining my brain so that I would pretend that at first it would start like I was pretending as though I was hearing, you know, a higher self speaking to me. And now all these years later, it's like, it just is my higher self voice speaking to me constantly. So yeah, I just decided like, I'm going to take a hold of this. I'm going to bring my higher self aspect in, and I'm going to live from that place in every single now moment. So yeah, I didn't really have like a particular mentor.
Mm-hmm. Well, the mentors are the online programs and the different books and all the resources that you dived into. And now you're just like a conduit to it all. Like I listen to you giving forth this information. I'm so fascinated and in awe, because I would like to get to your level where it's just like, oh yeah, I understand this. And you articulate it so well. And you're just like, you know, that divine source of inspiration just comes and flows through you, and you see it for what it is. What do you see happening to us as a collective? Because we've heard so much about this 5D ascension and getting out of this 3D matrix. And you talk about all these different timelines. And can you give my audience? I mean, I went into a bunch of stuff, but I was trying to talk like you do.
No. It's good. Well, I mean, okay. So first of all, my main point always is that this is an incredibly benevolent, positive time on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I want to get that across, because, you know, it's not always evident that is the case, especially, you know, as you mentioned, 2020, just 2 years ago, a huge amount of people woke up, and they didn't wake up in the prettiest way. Like, for my awakening, I kind of started from the bottom of the barrel, and I dove into godly information. I dove into spirituality rather than going into, you know, negative agenda rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. Whereas people who woke up in 2020 were slapped in the face with negative agendas, right? Something wasn't right. And then, you know, that led them down some pretty dark paths. And so from there, it's like, I feel as though I woke up earlier to help that wave of people see that we're not going down a negative route, because that's really important. So this time on Earth is just a natural cycle of Earth. We're in a precession of an equinox, which occurs every 26,000 years or so. And it's an end time cycle, but it's an end time cycle of an old age of darkness, and an age where we've been battling on Earth. I don't know how far down this rabbit hole you want to go, but you
can go. I had someone talking about the controllers and this deceivers on my last podcast. I'm like, well, this is going deep. It's okay.
Well, yeah, because I don't know if we have the opportunity to stay superficial anymore. I think we have to go deep, because this is disclosure. And how can humanity have their ascension without knowing the history of what's happened? So we, on this planet for a very long time, even more than our 3D brains can fathom, we've been battling between kind of like, good and evil for a very long time. So now this precession end time cycle, it's like the final battle between those two energies, but on a higher level. The light's already won. It's already divinely orchestrated that we go through our ascension process. So it's massive. It's very miraculous time on Earth. And I want whoever's listening on here to, perhaps, if they find themselves getting lost in negative agendas constantly, like, there's way more to this than that. Yes, you need to wake up to what's been happening, but that's also ending. And we're moving into a really benevolent time right now. So those are the two timelines, the two main timelines, right? It's the negative, being stuck in that. It's a descending pathway that is going to lead people, and not into a great place. But there's an opportunity for something even higher and even more truthful, which is stepping into like your heroic probability as a soul, or, finally beginning to find your pathway back to God, which is made available to us now. So I hope that was kind of clear.
No, it definitely was.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. So how do I summarize?
No, that totally makes sense, because a lot of us, I've been on the spiritual path for a long, long time, but it could be like more of the new agey spiritual. I'm really becoming a lot more aware of how much more is actually going on. And, the bigger picture, like what you're talking about, the positive, and it's New Earth isn't just some airy fairy thing. It's something that we've been moving towards for a very long time. And I, like many others, that woke up, because I became Pollyanna like you. I stopped watching the news probably a decade ago. It's 22. So probably in 2011, I'm like, I don't like watching this. Everything's negative, murder, racism, blah, blah, blah. So I just stopped watching it. But I went into Pollyanna land instead of like, I was all love and light, without really taking in more of the bigger picture. So when this happened in 2020, I went into like all those little dark agendas, and now I'm coming back out and seeing that it is an exciting time, and, not being wrapped so much in the negativity, which I was, and, trying to be one of those lighthouses for the other people to find their way out of, a lot of people are in darkness, but like you said, there's so much light around and to help them find that light. And that's one of the things that you're doing. So how do you navigate somebody through the grand ascension, or in the awakening process and ascension?
The main thing to do is to shine the light within every individual person, so they see their internal guidance system, because we all have this internal guidance system that is directly connected to your higher self aspect, which, by the way, in our time, the way that the ascension is unfolding, the ascension is just rapid evolution of consciousness on the planet. And the way that it's unfolding is that your higher self, for basically no one anymore, it's not outside of you. We're embodying it within. So everybody has the tools to navigate this by themselves. And I truly believe that we kind of attract everyone that we attract into our life is like divinely orchestrated for our next stage of our evolution, or of our pathway. So I feel like if I show up in somebody's life as a guide, it's just they manifested me so that I can help them remember that they have an internal guidance system, because there's no one way to do this. As you said, you went into, first you were really in the negative agendas, right? And then you went Pollyanna, kind of spiritual bypassy a little bit, or other way around?
Well, after I stopped watching the news, I was like, that was like 11 years ago, I'm like, I'm not going to feed into the collective consciousness of fear. I was Pollyanna. I didn't know anything that was going on in our world. I like stayed outside of that, but yet I didn't delve into more of a deeper meaning and about what we are here to, do as a species on this planet. So when all the shit hit the fan in 2020, I woke up out of that Pollyanna now. And then I saw everything that was happening for real on the 3D stage or the world stage. And I went into those dark agendas and, oh my God, they're going to inject me. I went into fear mode, and then I went into, rage mode. And then I went into like, I got to wake up the world and one side against the other. And now I've pulled away from that and now becoming more of the observer. And I even didn't come on the pod for a little bit because I wasn't embodying my message. And I had to really shake things up for myself to really be in alignment with, my purpose and what I'm here to do, because I was like, waking up the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's a perfect example because there's no right or wrong. Like you're being guided by your higher aspects. So sometimes you go into the rage. Yeah. But it's like a growing fire of sovereignty within, which was happening and I feel like the starseeds move, how like birds move in resonance, like in a harmony. I feel like the starseeds move kind of like that. Then the energy was like growing sovereignty when they were like unleashing the mandates and everything. So like that was benevolent. And then you have to step back and fill up with God. So you go a little bit Pollyanna just to get yourself up to a certain place. So it's like no right or wrong. Everyone is guided divinely in this process, but we just need sometimes something outside of us. I'm doing quotes for who, I don't know if anyone can see me on this, but yeah, there's no right or wrong. Everything is like, it's so divinely orchestrated on the planet right now, especially with the starseed group. So it's like written into our DNA. Right. And so it's just unfolding absolutely beautiful. What I truly feel that in my heart, and we can't be led astray. At this point, I feel like it's a snowball of awakening. And there's certain forerunners, and I do think you're one of them, Nancy, truly. Like I can just see that. So yeah, there's no, we can't be swayed off course. It's a snowball of awakening. And, there's different levels and levels doesn't mean bad or good. It's just, there's some people who are more of like the forerunners or first wavers, and then people are going to follow, and it's just going to keep going in waves. And there's no going back now. We're just going into the golden age.
Mm-hmm. And the important thing is not getting wrapped up in what's going on in the 3D and really staying in the positive and
yeah, I mean, the 3D is just in a collapse right now. So it's a matter of perspective. It's very evident that it's beginning to crumble if you know how to look. That could feel very scary for our ego aspects, of course, because the ego likes structure. But we are going to have to release those parts of us that like that control. It's because the control is part of the old matrix as well. So.
I had just gotten this quote. It says, "We're not here to cure the situation in society. Neither is it about creating a new sustainable 3D situation. It's all about unraveling the old karmic construct and shifting into 5D. This Gaia and benevolence have already begun and is well underway." And how important it is not to stay the shadow state in the various mechanisms of the pandemic and the reset. It's not driving the seat. And many see us as rallying against it. But right now they're gearing up their preparations, as we said, at an accelerated pace to take the humanity into a metaverse and off planet because the swamp gets stirred up, but it's not going to win. There's already light over all this darkness. Like people see it as accelerating and like everything's falling apart, but it's all coming together.
That's beautiful. It really is, because in my body, I don't feel that it's a Pollyanna or a spiritual bypass because I'm so aware of what they want to do. There's no denial of it. But it's the way that I feel their timeline. It's like a phantom matrix. And it's beginning to, the way that I see it in my mind's eye and just in my body is that it's glitching out. It's it's in like a panicky mode. They are in a panicky mode. I'm talking about the control groups now.
Mm-hmm.
And with every single passing day, and also with every, you know, how we get massive solar activity. I don't know if you kind of follow that. Oh, the past week was crazy. And with all of that, then when I tap into their timeline after times of massive solar activity, I'm like, it becomes even more in collapse and even more into like a phantom state. And then I turn on the news and I see everything that's going, and my perspective validates that greatly. Like I can just see panic from a dying system. And that's just what I feel like in the depths of my soul, you know? So, and then when I tap into the new earth timeline and look at the light and look at nature and look at, you know, all of the people that are speaking like you and me and everything that's going on, I'm like, wow, we really are shifting over. There are so many 5D plus, I like to say 5D plus, new earth structures that are rising, holistic centers, healing centers, community gardens, new financial systems, you know, like blockchain technology, quantum financial, everything's going quantum. And I'm just really excited about this time. I don't even remember what the question was. Oh, things are falling apart, but they're really coming together.
And
absolutely,
all these new, because the old system wasn't working, and a lot of us wouldn't have seen it unless we really got shaken up. And it's supposed to. It was supposed to happen. Old systems are collapsing, like you said. And what's beautiful are people are finding whole new ways. You know, community is becoming so important. We're realizing how much we need each other and to create our own communities outside of this system. And there's other ways of doing a regenerative earth. And the schools are like seeing what indoctrination camps they are, and the people that are leaving, standing up for what they believe in integrity. It's like, I'd rather send my kids to school with somebody that is not wrapped up in that old governmental indoctrination schools. And then the healthcare, like they're creating their own people that have stood up for the bodily sovereignty and integrity that are leaving the systems. And I can't wait till they create new health. I'll leave the health. Luckily, I'm not beholden to the health industry because I stay really pretty healthy. I only go in really for preventative care or whatnot, but I will get out of that system and into all these little healing groups, healing centers, holistic, natural health, light health. And it's really exciting to think of how once we move into this, and we are moving into this, how much light is going to be in this world.
Yeah. It's the breakaway societies. The thing is that it's happening simultaneously. It's not that the 3D comes down and then later the new earth rises.
It's at the same time.
all in the now, right now. And this is something I love talking about too. Like before there was mass awakenings, you know, we were living in a blended reality of the negative timelines and the positive timelines kind of interwoven with each other, but it just seemed like one mainstream reality. Nobody knew anything. So now we're in this process of the unblending or the unweaving of the negative timelines from our positive kind of birthright ascension timeline experience. And so that's what the bifurcation is. And it's just all happening at the exact same time. So I know people listening into this, we feel the call to polarize into these higher timelines. And if you allow yourself to, and don't fall into their fear traps, because they use frequency warfare to polarize you onto the negative timelines, you are naturally just going to be drawn into you're going to be safe. You're going to thrive. It's still going to feel uncomfortable because we're releasing our own we're releasing our own shadow. That's part of this detox. It's dark night of the soul purge on a collective level. So you have to do the work to clear that, but you're just going to be safe, pulled onto the positively polarized timeline naturally, to allow yourself that by just not believing. Don't believe the fear. That's the challenge.
Because fear and all this divisiveness is actually fuel and food for the negative energy that, they feed off of it. So, I mean, of course you have to go through your process, but don't stay in it and pull yourself out to these timelines, these other timelines that are happening at the same time, because everything happens at the same time. So It's like light and the darkness, like you can't have one without the other. You think about a flashlight, the darkness is always there. It's just when the light is shown into it, and the light always wins. The light will always win.
Yep. Yeah. And the thing is that literally we have light flooding the planet. It's like a literal situation because our earth plane is traveling. This is because of the precession of the equinoxes. The earth body is traveling through a place in the cosmos with much higher light quality and just more light amounts. We're traveling through a photon belt right now, and the earth plane is also aligning with the galactic center, which aligns it with the great central sun. So when we align to the great central sun, now we're having this, like, the great central sun, you can think about it like the spiritual sun behind our sun that we see in the sky. Mm-hmm. So it's like emanating this like massive amounts of light. It's like God is literally returning if you equate, God with light. So it's literally the earth is being flooded with light.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever read the book Fingerprints of the Gods? It's a Graham Hancock super thick book.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it talked about precession. So I had seen that book, or I read the book probably about, 17 years ago now. There's somebody that I was dating that became my boyfriend at the time. The first thing he did when we talked on the phone is he talked about that book because he was really into like monuments on Mars and the Lost Gospel of Judas and all that stuff. So it's like 1,000-page book, but it talks about like the pyramids and how they're really like not meant to house the pharaohs and how they're actually looking at the stars. And we were in the time of Aquarius, or we were here in the time of Capricorn. There's windows in the pyramids that are actually like kind of space stations. But what you were talking about is the precession, which the precession is like, if you think about an orange and the Earth's crust, like the orange moves. So there's like disasters or there's changes in the world that happen, like you were talking about, every 26,000 years. Wasn't it supposed to happen in 2012?
Well, okay. So, I mean, the precession is another rabbit hole that I've been starting to go down. With a couple teachers that I just love very much. But anyway, so, but the precession, apparently it's like, I've always been saying it's a natural event. It's a natural event. But if we really go back and learn about the galactic history, as a couple Ascension teachers talk about it, there's been galactic wars happening over the universal time matrix that the earth resides in. And it's been like, this is like billions of years old. Meaning, so I don't know how far down this rabbit hole is going to be for like some of the viewers, but there's been negative, alien infiltration on the planet with very, very powerful ancient alien technology that created like an artificial wobble of the earth, which then allowed the earth to fall into a state where it experienced the precession in the first place. So it's like the precession isn't even natural, and we're not supposed to have cataclysms. When the angelic humans were seeded onto the earth, Tara, 5D earth Tara, it was never meant that there would be cataclysms and precessions and, all that kind of stuff. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So why didn't that happen in 2012? Because we were ending all of this stuff. We're ending all of the negative alien infiltration. The technology is coming off of the earth grid. Like, this is really quite a benevolent event where we're not repeating, for example, the Atlantean cataclysm, which was an artificial event because weaponry was being used to a crazy degree. So I love that perspective because, as our divine God, like our founder races, I sometimes call them, who seeded the humans on the planet, never seeded like horrific events to occur. That was never part of the template. That only happened because of the negative infiltration that was here.
Wow, that's so interesting. Thank you for that. I never thought of it that way, because I always remember, like, I mean, it happens every 26,000 years, wasn't it the dinosaurs, Atlantis, all those cataclysmic, I can't say that word, cataclysmic events. And I always think about the earth just naturally, or not naturally, but, the earth's crust, and it just moves. And so now it doesn't have to, right? Because it's not. What were you saying about that?
No, it doesn't have to, because it's the alien. This sounds wild. Even in my own brain, I'm like,
no, trust me. People who are listening, you're going to start diving into this and seeing that it's not some like woo 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 thing. It's actually really real. I've dove into this, and when I first heard about it, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Galactic
Yeah.
wars.
And well, this is what I'm like all about the absolute highest timeline. There are high truths that we're starting to be able to uncover now because we're in a part of the ascension process. It's really the light that is allowing us to uncover past timelines that were hidden before. It was like cloaked. Because there were beings here that didn't want you to know any of this, right? But the galactic warring, the war between the, negative entities, I sometimes say anti-Christ or anti-Christos forces
Mm-hmm.
versus the Christos forces. There's been so much of that battle since the start that it's to unweave everything that's happened prior to this point. It's like, it's pretty intense and wild, but there's negative alien technology on the earth, the 3D earth grid system that keeps it at such a fallen state. Even the earth being on a slight tilt, that's artificial. The earth is on an artificial tilt due to the negative alien tech. It's supposed to be in a horizontal, like rod and staff position in time and space. And it's on an artificial wobble. So a lot of these things are being corrected now. It's like, we've been out of alignment. On the earth body has been out of alignment. The human body has been out of alignment, and we're all coming back into alignment now. So yeah, cataclysms, all this stuff that's been happening here, it was never meant to be that way. And my personal perspective is we have the future timeline options to not ever experience cataclysms from here on out ever again. It's actually our choice. And I believe that this is why the starseeds are here, because we hold those timelines open so that people can create that, so that they can see those timelines as a possibility for humanity and feed those timelines. Any earth weather stuff that occurs won't be benevolent from, God, just natural stuff. It's the weather modification, which we're ending anyways as well. So it's like, we can make this like beautiful. I truly believe we can make this beautiful. That's available for us now.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the crazy weather and its modification. And
a lot of it. Yeah.
A lot of it. I can see it like this crazy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was manipulated. That was modified, and that lightning's not real, and this and that and the other thing. But so you talk about starseeds. I know we went into deep with the galactic wars. There's the Ascension library. I dived down. I was reading about the Palladians before and bringing in their light. There's so much information out there, and it's really like, it might take someone a little time to like really just dive into that and then just open up to a new way of seeing things, because we kind of have to. And it might not be right away, but for some people it's right away. But for those that are just still kind of opening up their minds to this kind of thing and might not quite know what a starseed is, what is your definition of a starseed? What is a starseed, and what are they here to do, or where did they come from?
Yeah, so starseeds come from outside of the earthly plane. They might have been on the planet before. I believe, for example, that we've had multiple starseeds seated on the planet before. It has to do with the galactic wars that started in the very beginning, where the anti-Christ forces. I don't know. I know people struggle with the word Christ,
right? It's not necessarily God from the Bible. It's K-R-I-S.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with religion at all. It's like, you can spell it with a K, or say crystalline.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sacred geometric genetic like structure that the original angelic human was seated as. So there were beings that kind of infiltrated this universal time matrix that wanted to take it over. And from there, there's always been like those against the crystalline genetic material, and those for the crystalline genetic material. So starseeds have always been incarnating on Earth, even though they're not typical like earthly souls. They come from outside of the star system. They come from different galaxies. They come from different higher dimensional expressions, and they've been seated on the Earth plane to try to restore the original angelic kind of crystalline genetic material, because the anti-Christos forces hybridized or played around with the Christed genetic material a lot. So for example, Yeshua or Jesus was a starseed who came in to bring in the Christos teachings, his transcripts, and to help restore the angelic human DNA. And we had many starseeds kind of come in. Right now, there's not just one or two. Right now, it's like a flood of these Christos starseed forces that are here to put forth that mission to help people reclaim and restore on a massive scale the original angelic human DNA, which has been so hybridized and so damaged by these negative forces. But we've never seen this many starseeds before on the planet. It's like the 144,000, but I feel that it's like multiples of that number starting to come online right now. So I don't know. Did I explain starseed?
No, it 100% did. And you were talking about hybridizing, and I was just reading something as well about the organic portals and about how there's the soulless that is that what you're talking about? The soulless that comes onto the planet. And there's some people that it was called the organic portals, and how it's a hybrid of the human, like
organic portal.
Well, that's what they call it. Okay. So hybrids.
You know what? A lot of people speak on this and it carries the same like energy signature, but some of the words are just a little bit different.
So like there's 3 million people on the planet, 3 billion or something that don't have souls per se.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, different people say different things in this kind of arena. Like there are NPCs. I don't know if you've heard of NPCs, non-player characters, where they're just kind of like, I guess you can say that they're soulless. They're just kind of like placeholders in the Matrix hologram.
Yes.
And they can be used very easily by the negative forces because it's just a code. You just program them, right? And I heard a really interesting teacher, what was her name? Michelle Walling. She said, right now we have a lot of those like soulless vessels. I don't like soulless, but a lot of those NPCs, like bodies coming, they're walk-ins, like walk-in souls, walk-in starseed souls, kind of going into their vessels so that those bodies can't be used by the negative anymore. And they're just going to help with the awakening process, which I'm like, that's such an interesting perspective. I love that.
I love that too. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you really want to get across or really convey to the people that are listening that might be, just opening their eyes to this or are well on the path to awakening or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if people are just starting to open their eyes and they heard this podcast, obviously there is a lot of potential to feel very overwhelmed with this type of information and even have those moments of like, wow, this is absolutely crazy. And I understand. And I just want the main point that I want people to know is that God is real and God is a very benevolent force. And we are in a very benevolent time on earth, which I have already said before. And no matter what other forces are trying to tell you, the highest truth of the matter is that this is like miraculous, beautiful time. And don't succumb to the fear frequencies, because the fear frequencies they're false. They're literally it's just programs that are trying to take over your field. They're false. Do not believe the fear programs. This is a beautiful time.
And what are some of the ways that someone might recognize that they're being taken away from these fear programs? It just doesn't feel good, right? Or it's something in their body that's off.
Yeah. Majority of what I say, so that we're not, because none of this actually works if you're ignoring fear, which is confusing because I'm saying don't go into the fear, don't go into the fear, but then I'm saying don't ignore it.
Not being taken away, but like, oh, okay, like I'm going into fear, like recognizing it.
Yes, exactly. So it's like you can be with fear in two different ways. You can be in your mind about it and, feed a story or allow a narrative of fear to play out in your mind where you're imagining a fear event or you hear that voice constantly saying negative stuff to you. That's one way. And that's feeding negative timelines by being out of your body, in your mind, ruminating in a scary story or a scary imagining. And then the other way, which is the conscious way, that us and our self-mastery really needs to start doing is to be in our body with the energy of fear. So as a sensation rather than a story. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you got triggered by fear, something on the news, or, you heard something somewhere else, rather than going into the timeline, imagining it and allowing yourself to get all worked up and completely being out of your body at that point. You want to drop your awareness in your body and feel the sensations of fear, whatever that may be, heart pounding, stomach clenching. So it's focusing on the body. It's being present in the body. That's the whole ascension process.
So dropping in to the body and the intuition without all the monkey mind going on and being carried away by our stories, which aren't real, that we're creating.
Exactly.
And false timelines, right? Or false. It's false. Drop in, feel the fear. Oh, okay. I'm feeling this way. And then not getting swept away and all that. And
that's
then,
how you transmute it. That's actually how you alchemize it. You bring your pure consciousness to feel energy rather than feeding a story. It's a practice though, and it's challenging at first.
Right. And catching yourself and not going down that spiral.
Yeah.
So what are some really good resources for people that want to start on this whole ascension process and learning about? I know you mentioned The Secret. That's how you started. That's like way in the beginning. I think a lot of people that are listening to this have looked into manifesting in the quantum field and, self-development work for a long time, but someone that wants to really open up their mind more to this.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even really suggest The Secret at this point anymore, because I feel like as a collective, it's still distorted. It's still not 100% there. And we've all moved, we're past that. And also people who are waking up now, they're going to be, everything is faster. It's like every single moment where somebody wakes up, they have to do less work than the previous wave did. It's like, it's becoming more instantaneous. But resources, I would say this isn't, it's not really a resource outside of you, but we need to be meditating right now, like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. Nature, like, is this what you mean by resources? Or even spiritual tools, we'll call it. So meditating, being in nature as often as possible. You want to make sure that you are not allowing, the mainstream psychological warfare tactics to come into your field, because sometimes we start to feel very low, and it's because that stuff is being pumped at us from literally every single avenue. Even if you don't turn on the news, it's still finding its way. You open up Google and there's news there and whatever. So be very mindful of that. Nature, drink loads of water. And I'm reluctant to give out books and stuff because so much we've already moved past it. Even though there's so many great authors out there, like I said, Dolores Cannon. Have you heard of her?
I don't think so. I'm going to write her down. Dolores Cannon.
Cannon, she speaks of the 3 waves of volunteers, and she always spoke of the New Earth, like in the 90s and stuff. But she speaks about some cataclysms potentially and stuff, and she's a high level soul, like beautiful positive soul, but things have changed, different timelines have opened up. So I'm like, we don't need that. You have everything within you. I know that's so cheesy, but it's true. Everyone's embodying their higher self now. So the more you spend time quiet within yourself in nature, you're just going to hear your guidance. You're going to be led perfectly through synchronicity. And then you'll find your own teachers and your own stuff that way.
Be your own guru and tap into that inner wisdom and open up to the guidance that you're given to, whatever resources, definitely getting into nature and calming the anxiety within your body. But we have everything we have within ourselves to ascend and to learn and to embrace this whole process that we're all going through.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. So Ginelle, what do you have going on? Do you have any programs or classes, or how can people get in touch with you? Do you have a way for people to work with you or to listen to some of your videos or your messages?
Yeah, so I'm doing a really cool series. I'm creating, it's not ready yet, a really cool series, which is the Warrior series for the Light Warriors and the Starseeds, to really start activating your empowerment and your sovereignty within, and to understand that you truly are emanating out, you are projecting out your own hologram, like 100%. So it's all about knowing your power and not being afraid of your power anymore. Because as soon as we turn on that way and we start projecting our consciousness, all of us together, into the highest trajectory for humanity, like we're going with this already happening. So there's going to be that. And you can learn more about that on my Instagram, which is a guide to awakening. So I don't know if there's anywhere for you to write that.
Yeah, I'm going to put that. I'll put that in my show notes for sure. And I'd be interested in that program myself.
Okay,
and I'll
really
pitch it
cool.
out. So you'll have to get in touch with me too when it's ready to launch, and I'll make sure to push it out to as many places and resources and my podcast as possible.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because that's where I do all my lives and everything, and just Starseed empowerment chats in the evenings, which are really great. And what else is going on? That's it. I'm doing a really cool live coming up on Thursday.
Are you? What time?
Justice Bellucci. I don't know if you follow him.
Who is it?
Justice Bellucci.
I don't think so. I love hearing about all these new people. Justice Bellucci?
Yeah, I'll post about it on my Instagram.
Okay, great. I'll look for that. So this new program, that's what's lighting you up. And
yeah.
God, I think it's great. We need that. Okay, well, it was so wonderful having you on. Before you go, there's something I always ask my guests, and that is, what does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart?
Oh, that's so beautiful. What does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart? Living through the law of one, knowing that, we're all one. We're all one with God. We're all one with each other. I say that there's a new grid system that has come online now, which is, the 5D plus New Earth grid system, which is the crystalline one heart grid. And it connects all of the light workers and all of the light tribes and starseeds together in such a telepathic way. So, and it's just it's constantly being amplified. So that's what it means to me. Law of one, we're all together. We're all creating a beautiful world together, and it's really happening. And I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh. I just love that. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to just bounce away and do my walk in nature.
Yes.
After this conversation. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. Blessings.
Blessings. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awakened Heart Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenedheartpodcast.com.